would pray for my sister who was sick, my baby sister. And she died at 9 months. So for 9 months, we prayed. She was in the hospital. She had a heart thing. And then they brought her home and she's in her little oxygen bed. And we prayed, we prayed, we prayed, we prayed. It never occurred to me she might die. My mother got parking spots. My mother got everything from God. And every night as a little girl, imagine all these kids gathering around saying the rosary and the prayers and all that stuff. So we're all praying, everybody's praying, and she dies.
Yesterday, Mary Sise is a pioneer in the field of energy psychology, and in recent years, she's also stepped forward to explain how our grief moments when we lose someone close to us can send us spiraling or also be a leverage to our spiritual soul calling, which is what happened to her. I'm Carol Westmore, lead editor and publisher of the exciting global collection of stories, Tap Into Your Best Life. EFT tapping stories of real life transformation and healing. In this series, we spotlight our authors and explore the real life transformation behind their chapters. Today, we welcome Mary Sise, one of the world's pioneers in energy psychology, tapping, and trauma work. Her path through grief, trauma, and cancer led her not only to healing, but she says to wholeness. So, Mary, how did you begin your exploration into energy psychology and the mind body spirit connection in psychotherapy?
I was traditionally trained as a therapist. I was raising my kids, and several things began to happen. I had a sister who was 10 years younger than me who was diagnosed with a lung disease where she needed a transplant. And she was delivering her baby when it got diagnosed. So here she has this baby and the 3-year-old. There wasn't anything they could do for her other than a transplant, and she had to wait to get the transplant. Those things like you create your own reality lines, that I always thought was great when my life was going great. But how did she create this? Life hits you with something like, why? Why? It didn't make any sense to me. And that got me into the energy thing. Now, her little prayer was she wanted to just live long enough that her children would know her. She kept saying that. I'm like, no, we can heal anything. Come on, we create our own world. We can do it. We just have to. And she actually had 2 different times she had lung transplant. Her daughter has the same condition, and actually, the daughter died when she was 21. And my sister died 10 years to the day of her daughter's birth. And I was devastated. I really thought we had this. I really thought with energy healing and with willpower and whatever. And so I had all these big questions and nobody had any big answers. Everything was failing me. I love the Rumi quote. The wound is the place where the light comes in. I just love that quote. Of course, I didn't know it back then. I think if somebody said it to me back then, I would have shook them. Like, leave me, don't be saying that spiritual stuff. I just had no answers. And it was after her death and after actually 9/11 that I actually met my guru, my spiritual master, Her Holiness Sai Maa. And she had the answers to the questions I was asking. Like, how does the soul come in? Why do we come here anyway? Why do mothers die? And I also realized it was triggering at what happened to me when I was 7 when I had a baby sister die. So I had like 2 big deaths. And I never put that together until I actually really began to do my own work and my own healing work. Like, how do we heal? And how do our beliefs get formed? Here I'm traditionally trained and I'm on like this whole new trajectory of getting answers to what I would say on those big questions.
And through the spiritual help that she gave you, you also were led to, as far as I understand, study thought field therapy and EFT, or did that come much later?
No, that was actually before. I was at a conference, a big caseload of very traumatized clients. And I knew about this EMDR therapy, which is an eye movement therapy. I knew the power of the eyes. And somebody was talking about you tap on meridians. Well, I didn't really know what a meridian was. That was about in 1997. I didn't meet Sai Maa until right after 2001. And that you could do this tapping on your face and you move some eyes around and what I knew the eyes because I knew EMDR. And I started doing that with my clients and oh my God, miracles started really happening. And that's what got me into that. And again, there's a piece of that that's so powerful because you do have to quiet the nervous system down. And once it's been so traumatized, and we're just going through our childhood, frankly, some of us. And you do have to do that first. And then as you're doing that or in the process of doing that, move to the spiritual. You can't just go to the spiritual without healing this. That's spiritual bypass. That's where I get people who say, oh, I've forgiven everybody and kumbaya, like really? But why can't your life work? And why is your body falling apart? That's kind of a spiritual bypass. I don't mean that at all. I mean, you heal quickly. I'm not for long therapy. You heal quickly what happened. You use the energy system of the body to quiet that down, to integrate where you're frozen in time. And then what begins to happen is that it's just so much easier to get your guidance because there's not much static on the line. So you don't have parts of you, danger, danger, danger.
Now, it's interesting you're talking about parts because what you're doing is retrieving that younger
Yes.
self. And in your case, the younger self, and you said underneath your terror of your sister not surviving would be a frightened little girl.
Yes. Why? Because the brain isn't as formed. And so anything that happens there, it's very easy to split it off.
Yes.
So what
And, so,
happened for
and how did you
me,
bring her home?
okay, that one I did in a different way. So for that one, this is actually a funny story. When I was at an EMDR training, we were learning it and we were in the room and we were in little practice groups. And I had a psychiatrist working with me and another person observing and me, right? So he starts doing the EMDR. I was working on my daughter going to college and I was feeling very grieving. He starts moving my eyes back and forth. I go back to putting my sister on a plane to get the lung transplant. But then, shocking to me, I go back to being 7 years old and my mother telling me that my sister had died. Somebody was there who said to me, I started to cry. And my sister said to me, this woman, I think it was either my grandmother or it was somebody, said, Teresa, don't upset your mother. And I fragmented, I froze the part of me that was vulnerable. And it was always since then very hard to cry. I could run a small country, but don't get me to cry. Get it done kind of person. I'm crying so hard. It was like it's coming from my toes. I'm sobbing. And I could see the guy kind of call over the trainer for me, like clean up in aisle 4. And like he's calling the guy over, the trainer comes over, and I'm like a mess. I'm like sobbing. It was wild, but that's what that was. That brought that aspect of I freed the trauma from there, but I didn't do exactly how I do it now. The way I
Okay.
do it now with tapping is go back and get them gently, and then we just bring them here and tap everything in.
Okay.
That was a little rougher ride, but it got it done. And that's the thing is I left my part of me, I sent her to Siberia. Like I couldn't do that.
Yes.
And I went and I made some beliefs about myself. Plus, I was scared and terrified. They didn't teach us
Sure.
that in church.
Yeah.
And then, like, I better be a good girl. And my mom was crying, and I better, like, I can't upset her. My
Yeah.
theme of my life,
Yes, to be big and
yeah,
strong.
be big and strong and don't upset anybody.
Yeah. So that's why I hear you often say, do not leave the eye movements out of tapping protocols, which
Yeah,
sometimes people do,
yes,
because that by eyes hard right, what we learned, it's so important, but we sometimes forget. We just do the
exactly.
positive intention.
If what you're doing is working, keep doing it. But what I'm saying for people who are traumatized or people who they can't seem to access, and especially under the age of 7, those parts are in Siberia practically. They're like not to be found, yet they hold energy. And so, how you're going to find it is in present time. I can't do something like
Yes.
it's terror or this, like for me, be vulnerable. For some of you, somebody gets angry and you're terrified. You
Yes.
can't do anger. You can't you're such a people pleaser, you don't even know what you want.
So you would say, look for the part of you that's doing it. It's not you, it's a part of you.
Don't keep them so separate.
Okay.
That's because then you have to have parts, and then they always stay separate from you. We're moving into a time on this planet of oneness, okay? Believe it or not. I know it doesn't look that way out there, but that's what we're moving into. Or all of you who are seeking enlightenment or oneness, right? We're seeking enlightenment, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Or peace, just peace within. But you can't have peace out there in the world if you're not at peace with yourself. Bring them to today, where you've created a safe space for them to live. Now, if
Okay.
you don't have a safe space today, that's where your work has to start. Because you can't bring apart if your life here is chaotic.
Yes.
It's like it won't work. you know?
Mary, you actually mentor a lot of therapists in this aspect of dealing with their clients.
Correct.
I think you've looked into the neuro view of
Yeah.
what happens in that moment where your sister died and you were told not to cry from a new point of view, which we seem to understand today. Can you explain what's happening in the brain?
Now you're really above my pay grade, but I'll give you the therapist version of what's happening in your brain, okay?
Yeah.
So when your brain gets a shock, like that phrase, like a deer in headlights, your eyes widen, something happens, there's like a shock. And we can almost say, like, part of you is screaming, no, no, this is not happening, right? Whether it's a phone call from the hospital or it's image your brain at that moment, it would be very interesting what we would see. But there seems to be a break in the connection. And so then part of you goes, if I'm thinking consciousness wise, not brain wise, it's like part of you goes forward. It has to go to do the funeral. You have to go identify the body. It's even worse when your body's hurt because the body's hurting and you're kind of out of the body. And then, yeah, you got to go and, and say you're in a car accident, your bones are broken, or it's a totally different thing. The brain is not doing its regular process. Cortisol's getting shot in there, adrenaline's getting shot in there. That's why, like, people can get out of the car and not even realize they have bones broken or they have this or that right away because it's kind of like Novocaine in your body. Don't even know. And then, or in fact, I know people who've been like whiplash or something like that in a car and it doesn't even show up for sometimes months. We know that the brain's
Yes.
shooting you chemicals to stay alive or to get out of the body and die. It's a protective mechanism. Problem is you didn't die. The problem is you're still here, but you're not all here. The body's being hurt. I'm above it. Or even people who have a near death experience, they're like above the body going toward the light. There's a tube of light connects you to the higher aspects of you. But that's what death is. You go there. You were in a car. Let's make it a car accident. So you're up here. Part of you is looking down at that body going, like, I know there's one woman I worked with. Right now, she's probably 78, 80. And so it was back when she was a little girl. Imagine the cars then. Her father, they got in a car accident. She went, of course, there's no seatbelts. She goes through the thing and the father drives over her. Now she's up above the body. And the father is, she can see her father just hysterical. Imagine being that dad. And then it's not really her time to go anyway. So she comes back, but she never fully came back because it's great up here. You have a near-death experience. It's like, woo, who wants to go down to earth? It's kooky down there. And so they're still up here. But here's the problem. She couldn't get her life to work. By the time she came to me, she had MS diagnosis. The body was breaking down. She wasn't in it. Work I had to do with her is do the method I get her to come back into the body, quickly move it forward to where the body's healthy, and then bring that part to today and take that
Yes.
whole thing in. Now she's healthy. She doesn't even have the MS diagnosis anymore.
And in your own case, your second trauma, which happened in adult life, tell us about how far were you in understanding this and what happened to you when you thought you had sorted the right approaches to healing?
That was 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. So here I am going along and I've done like a lot of work and I'm thinking I'm fine, except I'm doing my thing that I always do, which is work, work, work and create stuff and have fun like that, but not really taking care of myself as much
Okay.
maybe I should. To be healthy, your energy has to be coherent. Your energy has to be really moving and you have to have balance in the masculine and the feminine. So if you look at my MO, I mean, I was so much more improved than I was maybe 20 years ago, we could say. But my masculine was still too strong, outward, not inward. I could cry, I'd made progress, but still like I'm somebody who gets it done, duh, 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 like that, going,
Yeah.
going. You see, I go get my mammogram, of course it's overdue, and they find a spot and it's cancer. So now I'm like, man, like how could I have cancer? I've done so much. But I also knew if I don't balance this, I can take it out, but I can create it again. When you don't heal something, and you suppress energy, it creates mass. And I knew enough about that. So now I knew I had to go deeper. That's when I really went deep and found, in fact, I was in a program with Sai Maa,
Your spiritual teacher.
yeah, my teacher, and she said to me, what did you do to your feminine side when you were 18? And I was like, oh, because she can see energy, I mean, she can see it.
Yeah.
And I picked somebody to be me, and you have to pick somebody. It's this kind of program we do. And I took her and I put her down and I put my foot on her back. I suppressed her. And Ma looked at me and she said, "What do you intend to do now?" And I was like, whoa. So I picked her up and I embraced her. It was
But
very energetic.
had you pushed her down like that?
Oh, yeah, I know what it was because I was growing up and these men around me, these guys around me. I had a lot of brothers, and not that
Yeah.
anything had even happened, but I
No.
think, and I wanted to go to college. It was at a time women, you went to college, got married, and became a teacher or a nurse. Like that was about it. I wanted to do big, I wanted to play with the guys and do all this. I was scared about really stepping into the feminine, the real
Yeah.
feminine. I was scared. And I just suppressed that, and
Yeah.
getting things done, it gave me a lot of freedom as a girl back then. If I wanted something, I came from a really big family and we were fine middle class. I'm not saying we were poor, but if I wanted something cool, I just worked and got it myself. I was one of those make it happen kind of people, and I'm still that way.
Though, or if we don't catch that aspect of ourselves, it can damage us a lot. It won't be in harmony.
In order to take my clients to this level, then I had to be more integrated. And what was really amazing, which most people don't know is linked to that, it was that same month that I was creating a new program, Magdalena Healing, it's called.
Yeah.
It's a frequency of the Magdalena lineage. Most know Mary Magdalena, but there's a whole lineage of Magdalenas. And that's when that program was launched. But when I think about it, I could have never launched that program had I not. I better be in balance because Mary Magdalena was a role model for this, was a very balanced masculine and feminine energy, which is how she was able to walk with Jesus and teach with Jesus and do all the things she did. That got me from there to there, which then catapulted me to a whole nother level. You got to do your work. Anybody listening to this podcast, it's possible. And you could do it fast with the energy psychology methods or some of the newer methods we have out now.
Yeah.
But it's about integration and unity within yourself, peace within you. You're masculine and feminine, harmony.
And in your book, you wrote the two books I've got up here. I just want to bring them back into focus. The energy of belief, touch
Yeah.
and breathe. So when you, even now, do you integrate breath and intention?
So what I originally studied, I studied with Roger Callahan, just like Gary Craig and everybody else did. We all studied with Roger back in the 90s. And then people developed different things. But when I really looked at Roger's work, we did a lot of energy testing. And we always started with intention. I want to be over this. There was intention in his work. And then you could tell with your energy testing, whether all of you did or part of you did, but he did it with that. When I brought the work back to where I was working, it was the 90s, right? I can't do energy testing. Like, that's not going to fly in my office. But I knew the correction point is this. So I knew if I had to state an intention and hit this, that's why I would do it. So I just added it to everybody. And then I also knew as I developed it more for my clients, because I had very traumatized clients, I learned more about lineage trauma. So when I say I'm choosing or I've decided to release this, all the roots and origins of it. Now, what happens, it goes into the lineage, it goes into your past lives. I can't do past life work in my office. The insurance companies aren't going to pay for that. But when I have you say, go get the roots and origins, there is no time anyway.
But you discovered you could do it on the side of the hand with the intention.
Yes.
Is it also, I love myself anyway? Is that it?
Here's why I never said that. The minute you have trauma, people say, and I love myself anyway.
Yes?
Get it, you lose them. They're like, this is the stupidest thing I ever heard. I don't love myself. And so energetically, it's like your batteries, they now go in backward. They'll reverse on you. The way I do it, which is different, I have you say an accepting statement, but I have you rub this spot on the body, the NLR spot, which is the spot that Callahan had found for global reversals. He had a name for it. So, and that's some people, it's like you have batteries, they're in backwards. Those are the people who have chronic wounds or things don't work for them, or it's one bad day after another. If we test you energetically, you're upside down on the planet. When you rub this, that flips your polarity.
Tell us, just take us slowly through it. So if someone comes to you, do you start with that?
So I start, everybody rubs here.
Yes.
But I'm
And
pretty
what
happy
do
with
they
that.
say?
And they say, Even though there's anger in me, I accept myself. That's where you say your accepting statement. Not I love and accept myself,
Okay. I
forget
accept
it.
myself.
No,
Okay.
I just accept myself. Most of us kinda love ourselves, we dress okay, but we don't accept
But
ourselves.
do they accept themselves if they've got shame or guilt? And if they don't?
I just accept I have shame in me.
Okay, I
Oh,
accept
there's
them.
shame in me, I
Okay.
accept that's in me. You're not
Okay.
shame. It's a frequency.
What is
Frequency in my field. So
where do
you
you
start that even though I feel guilty and I should be punished for the rest of my life. There's you believe that, you part of you does.
yeah.
Or even though I'm afraid to forgive myself. I just accept myself.
You go to the side of the hand.
Then I go to it. I'm choosing to release this guilt, or I'm choosing to release my fear of releasing the guilt. A lot of people,
Yes.
they think staying guilty keeps you from doing it again. And so I
Yes.
have to do some talking around that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you know Patricia Carrington in The Choices?
Yes,
Did
yes.
that come before, or did she
No,
just pick it up from you?
no, no. She had a choice method that
And
she
so
developed early with Gary. When you say I've decided, it's even stronger. I've decided to release this fear of releasing my guilt. And then you do that first, then you release the energy of guilt. Do you really think you're going to do this again if you're not guilty? See, guilt always seeks pain. As a therapist, those of you who are playing the coach therapist kind of role,
yeah.
you can't just jump to this stuff. It won't work. But
Yeah.
these things are put in place so that you don't do something again. Like, for example, if you're in a car accident and you kill somebody and everybody knows you're full of shame, especially
Yeah.
say drinking, like, I should never be happy. Look what I've done. You
Mm.
see, it's like a death sentence. For you, you made a mistake. Again, I'm not saying that you can't do some atonement. Once we clear this out, you devote your life to helping people recover from alcoholism. There's something about atonement, and you do that.
Yes. So it's like a soul
Yeah.
calling. When people work with you, ultimately, they come to understand the roots and origin. It's
Yeah.
important because it could come from family of origin or even past lives. They might remember them or not. Does it matter? But once you just say the roots, all the roots and origins of, yeah. And then, so all this time you're tapping on the,
And no, so I do that first.
yes,
Then I start the tapping,
yes.
all the points, and then I do the eye movement.
I
I
think
shouldn't
that's
say never, 99.9
no,
I'm doing
you
them.
can't
And then
undo.
I tap again, and then I check. What's coming up for you now? And I always ask, did it get better? Did it get worse? Or did it stay the same? And you want them to be able to say to you, it got worse, because sometimes it does.
Yeah.
You take down the anger and the sadness comes up and it's huge. Or you
Mm,
take down the sadness and the rage comes out and it's big. And
mm.
they're like, oh my God, I feel worse now. And I'm like, no problem. We're just doing it again
And
because sometimes you can feel worse. But the clients, especially if you have a really people pleasing client, they don't want you to feel bad. So they'll act like they're better, but they're not. So you really want to say, did it get better? Did it get worse? Sometimes it gets worse. Or did it
did you
stay the
tell
same?
them?
And you need to get an accurate read because this is why you really, I can't stress this enough. If you're doing this and you're taking money from people as a coach or a clinician, you need to be trained at the highest level. That's just being responsible. You don't mess with people. You can make people worse. And that's what we do in our trainings and the things I do. That so you know if it's not changing, there's things you need to do. You need to fix their polarity or you need to fix neurological
Yeah.
disorder. There's things you can do to fix it.
Be
So
what they call a trauma-informed therapist.
I think everybody who's working with anybody should be trauma informed because I don't know anybody on this planet that doesn't have trauma. And Carol, they would say things like, get everything to zero. No, no, no. You will
Yeah.
flood somebody. I have people been sex trafficked. You don't flood those people. You need to know what you're doing. If you're
Yeah.
taking money and you want to do this responsible, you need to know what's my scope of practice and what can I do? What can I do on Zoom? And what the person needs to be in the room with me. What do I need to know? And how
Mhm.
do I work with people? And when do I refer? What I found working with people, oftentimes they will jump to, God, but they really feel betrayed by God. We
Yes.
prayed for him. Like my sister, I can remember as a little girl. And my mother was one of those Catholic mothers. Obviously, we had 12 kids. But
Yeah.
anyway, we prayed for everything. Okay. We prayed for parking spots. My mother could get anything. We would get a parking spot right in front. We'd be driving into the grocery store parking lot, the shop, right? And well, let's pray. Let's ask St. Jude for a parking spot. And oh, St. Jude, give us a parking spot.
Sometimes, yeah.
Every friggin' time. My mother could get anything. And every night as a little girl, imagine all these kids gathering around saying the rosary and the prayers and all that stuff. We prayed for my sister who was sick, my baby sister. And she died at 9 months. So for 9 months, we prayed. She was in the hospital. She had a heart thing. And then they brought her home and she's in her little oxygen bed. And we prayed, we prayed, we prayed, we prayed. It never occurred to me she might die. My mother got parking spots. My mother got everything from God. My father had a direct line as far as I was concerned. And that was my God. I had an aunt who was a nun, an uncle who was a priest. So imagine the scene. So we're all praying, everybody's praying, and she dies. Kind of blew my little world. For starters, I thought you'd only die when you were old. And like, it was, where's God? And so then I decided my answer to that, by the way, at age 7 was he must be busy. And therefore, that's why I have to overwork over here. Like, you take care of the rest of the world. I got my section. So you really want to look at when these things happen. What beliefs do you form? And then how does that change this trajectory of your life for knowing that you are loved and protected and enveloped by the divine? So deep down, there's this terrified me that doesn't ask for help. Like, God's busy. Let him be over there.
Yes.
Okay. We didn't, nobody, it wasn't like in maybe other cultures where I make a joke. Nobody was saying namaste in New Jersey in the 50s. Like, I honor the divinity in you. Nobody told me that God is within me. They weren't teaching that. And so that's why when you have the wound is the place where the light comes in, is where you start asking the big questions. Now, the problem for me is when people start going in that direction, love to meditate, love to get out of their body, because frankly, they're already out, and love to go way up here and don't function here. Now you're betraying your soul, if you ask me.
Okay, so
Your soul chose to be here. Your soul wanted to come on this planet. It's not easy to get on this planet. You have to ask a ton of souls to get you in. Sometimes your mother's just like a Uber driver. She just says she'll take you there. She didn't say she'd feed you lunch, but you wanted to come. And once you get that, it's like you have to find the part of you that's still mad at God. You see,
yeah.
if you're mad at God, like, where are you? You're kind of afraid to own that you're mad at God, because if this is what he did when you were praying, what do you imagine he's going to do if you're mad at him? So you have to suppress your anger. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We have to overfunction like me and try to get on his good list.
What's the answer? I'm very curious.
So the answer is just taking a breath. Do it right now. Take a breath and go inside. Travel back in time to that little girl. Like, where are you, God? Maybe dad's being a total what?
Yeah.
And this you of today that has some answers, certainly a heck of a lot more than they were given back then that were totally unsatisfactory. Go to that little you who's really mad at God. When are you coming? Or maybe wants to say there is no God. You just want to give him up. So you go to her and now put your arms around her.
Yeah.
Imagine the you of today walks in the house. Put your arms around that you of back then. Tell her, I've got some answers for you. And for some of you, you might just want to say to her, I'll search. What I can promise you is I'll search. I'll get some better answers than they got here. And then now imagine, close your eyes and imagine, now we could do tapping here, but tapping. You can just breathe probably and get it done. Is there anything she'd like to say to these people in the house or just to you? It doesn't matter. And then take her and say, come on, you want to get out of here? And then walk her out the front door of that house. Bring her to today and then tell her, look out my eyes.
Yeah.
See where we are today. So you use those eyes. It's safe. And I've got some answers.
Yeah.
God is in me. I'm God. I'm divinity in a physical form. We have the power to transmute anything. Why? Because we're divinity. We're divinity in a physical form. But you've got to get aligned. And when you have all these other energies in you, it's like static on the line. You're like a radio station. But you got a lot of static, so you can't get a clear message. But you'll see trauma people, a lot of us, I think everybody has trauma, but when you go to meditate, your wounds come up and it makes it very hard to meditate. You get more agitated because now this part of you that's like that part of me would be going, you can't not work. You can't sit still. Something bad's going to happen. You see how mine was linked to that. Meditation was very hard. Most people have something that makes it hard to meditate. I'm saying don't not meditate. You always want to meditate.
No,
Eventually your brain will
But do the inner work.
do both. So then you have a direct line. It's so clear. That's what I found as I brought my parts in. Whenever I find one, and frankly, I don't go looking for them. Usually somebody will come and push my buttons. Then I know, oh man, there's another. Just more work. you know?
Oh, really? Is that the position you get to after all these years of doing this work?
Yeah.
Is that maybe till you leave the planet, you are still being, well, I don't think you like the word triggered, but you are being,
Oh, I love the word
oh,
triggered.
do
You
you?
are being triggered.
Oh, so you are being triggered. And I like the one thing I heard you say that you have to go from air mode to almighty.
Almighty mode, then you get it clear.
Yeah.
So as you practice meditation, those circuits will get stronger. That's a good thing. But when something comes up, you've got to transmute it so that this part can come on the meditation mat with you. And then the more and more, then your energy's coherent, then you're vibrant, then you decide to do something. And because your energy is so coherent, it's powerful. Well, here's a big important thing that a lot of people don't know. You clear something out of your field, you clear it, you've cleared it for your lineage,
I
your
believe that.
grandchildren. That's why
Yeah.
we do this work. Every piece of work that I and my husband do, it's going down to our lineage. So
Yeah.
grandchildren, our children, our grandchildren will do that. And then it ripples out to the planet. It's
Yeah.
planetary. It's not just personal. And it never was, but now it's critical.
Tell us about Tapping Tuesdays.
Okay, so this was kind of interesting. So in 2020, when the pandemic was happening, and I had this tool, and everybody around me is freaking out. You know, my neighbors, my friend, everybody, right? Everybody's freaking out. And I knew I had this tool of tabbing. It was like, how could I have this tool and not share it? So people were getting onto Zoom. We were doing Zooms at the time. I decided to put this thing out. I called it Tapping Tuesday at 2. That way everybody could remember and I could remember when it was. And so I just put it out onto my email list and I said, bring a friend. I don't care. Just come and tap with me. We'll tap for an hour. And I knew, or shortly after that, that the research showed that if you tap for an hour with a group, it'll drop your cortisol level like a good 43, 47%, something like that. So I knew there's power in group tapping. But the truth is, I had never done it really in groups. I always worked with people one-on-one. It has blown my mind, the power of it. So what happens is it started in 2020, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. We started maybe with now thousands of people have signed up for it. They don't come every week. Now there's 100 and some odd people on it a week, 125, 50, whatever. And they come from all over the world. So we have the whole world with, I think of it as like pillars of light in the world, just tapping away. Somebody will raise their hand, they want to go. And usually one or two people go in the hour. And I just start working with them, but I make it big so that it applies to everybody. So it ends up being everybody's issue that week. You'd be shocked. The week you come on, it'll have your issue. It's mind blowing how the energy works. People love it and it's free. You'll tap with the group. Some people haven't missed a week in 5 years. It'll support any other therapy you're doing. It'll help you feel empowered. I can quiet myself down. You just got to come on, give it a try. It's free.
Where can people find you? I will put that in.
Okay. That's easy. It's my name, Mary Sise, SISE.com. And that's where all the info is. Just sign up for my newsletter. Okay. So how I live my life now? Well, there's not enough hours still in my day. I haven't figured that out. Serve as the director of the Magdalena healing program. So I work with healers all around the globe. And it's doing this level of work so that they can receive an initiation into that lineage. And then they can have a energy practice with that. I teach other programs for Her Holiness Sai Maa. I've been with Ma for over 24 years. I wanted to write a book on beliefs and how they got formed and then how to release them. So there's that book. And then I do some one-on-one work. It's limited, so you can get all that off my website. I also teach for the Shift Network and look at where you're stuck and all this, especially if you're a coach or a nurse or a doctor. Really, a lot of it is about the power of your energy field. And when you're in alignment, how it impacts the field, and when you're serving, how you can get insights. So it's more taking the work into that.
And do you take care of yourself?
I have a spiritual practice. I meditate and do things like that. I'm married almost 50 years, so I spend time with my husband.
Grandchildren?
I have 9 grandchildren, 3 kids, 9 grandkids. So spending time with them. And again, sometimes I'm traveling, sometimes I'm there. So my daughter's like, you're supposed to stay home and babysit. I was like, no, I'm not.
So looking back on your life, you've come to a place where you've integrated or harmonized those parts, but you still have a lot of energy to put out there in the world. So
You know why? Because when you're in alignment, I'm not using my own energy. Energy, the Shakti, is able to just move through me. I don't distort it because I'm in alignment. You're using this energy. Now, when I get tired, if I push the body too much, then that's not good because it'll distort a little bit. Because the more and more I'm aligned and I've done a lot of my work, the energy's coherent, your health has to be vibrant. I do a lot. But I love what I do.
What a gift to sit with Mary Sise, one of the world's pioneers in energy psychology, tapping, and trauma work, and to hear how she moved through grief in her own life. It surfaced first through her adult sister's lung transplant diagnosis, which echoed a much earlier wound, losing her baby sister, a little girl who died despite the family's most ardent prayers. A loss that left Mary asking, where is God in all of this? Something she later answered after she met her guru, Sai Maa. What you heard today is only part of Mary's story. Her full journey is one of the chapters in the Soul Focus section of Tap Into Your Best Life, linked below, along with my free story, Starter Vault, if you're ready to begin your own tapping or writing journey. If Mary's story moved you, subscribe so you don't miss next week's transformation with Stefan Gonnick. I'll see you there.